either put it on GitHub or I can put it on Blackboard, whatever works for you. Okay, so our next question. So what I did from you last week, I requested you to give me this data, and I said, give me information about your name, about your birthplace, about your email, your job desired, and your favorite sites. And we added age and your semester fee afterwards, so it could be missing in some I see, but these were added and I put it back on Blackboard, but that's okay. I can always make that, okay? Thank you. So now let's talk about the type of data. So data can either be in simple, absolutely simple. Data can either be text, which we call string or text. In SQL, we call it text, or data is number. They are numbers, but there are more types of data. What about date? Date is another type of data. Time. Time is another type of data. True, false, Boolean, another type of data. So you will see that there are many data types available in MySQL. Now you will say, am I supposed to memorize all this? Of course not. You're not supposed to memorize anything at all. So what I expect from you is that if you have to, you should know how to look for it. So your best friend, at least during this course, will be the MySQL manual. And for example, I'm interested in data types. And here they are, right? So you don't have to memorize anything at all. Anytime during first one, or the string types, that's my second one, right? So we can, one at a time, we can look at all of them. I won't look at all of them today, but notice there is a date and time here. So if now Boolean that I was mentioning, true and false, it's no longer available as a separate data type in MySQL. It was, but it's no longer available. So let's look at this string types, for example, which I was calling text. You see that there is something called char or char, whatever you would like to call it, character, char for short of character, or char for whatever it is, or varchar. So there are two types that I'll introduce you to today. They are the char and the varchar. The blob and the text, the enumerated, the set, the binary, and the var binary will come somewhere in the semester. They may not all come. Some may come, some may not. But you always have something you can go back and see. Oh, what will I use if I want to put in an image? Can I use character? No. Can I use blob? That looks as if binary large objects will work for it. So if you needed to put an image in your table, so if you have a field, student image, picture of the student, it's a field, then what type of data will it be? It will be an image, a picture. So what kind of data will you choose from your type? Blob type, right? So you have to learn which type do I use. You have to learn which type do I use. So we'll talk about character and varchars today. So, and similarly, we'll talk about the int and the float today. So you see there are integer types and there are few. You have int, small int, tiny int, medium int, big int. There are so many. And again, in fixed point, you have decimal, you have numeric, and in floating point, you have float and double. They're all the flavors of the same thing. So an int can be an integer. Int means whole number, right? So you can have an int. You'll say, now what's the difference? Oh God, I mean, how do I decide? Not a big thing at all. Let's look at it. It will give you a very rough idea. Now let's talk about age. Can age be negative? Age of a person? No. So it's an unsigned number, right? How big or small do you think the age can go to? Logically speaking, age of a person.
1 to 99.
Yeah, 1 to 99. I can go a little further. I've heard people living after age of 100. We could say 150 maybe, right? So now what is the difference between this data types, the integer data types? Look at it. It says if you choose a tiny int, now this is a type. The name is tiny int. You can store a value between minus 128 to 127 in it. Now, do you have to memorize this? No. There is a rule to it. If you've done a math course ever, I'm not sure if the web programmers do a math course. You may have learned about it, that how do you find the range? But kind of take my word for it. It's a formula, right? So now for age, if you wanted to store a number between minus 32768 to a positive 32767, in that range, you would choose a small int. If you'd like to choose a number in this range, you would use medium int. If you would like to choose a number in this range, you would use an int, and a big int is this. You'll say, what if I want to store a bigger number than that? There are other types also. Now for an age, logically, which of these types do you think will work? The best fit? Tiny int, right? It goes from a value of minus 128 to 127. Now I don't need the negative part of it. I'm fine, but the maximum limit is 127. Now, if you Google it, I don't know, has somebody lived beyond 127? Could be, I don't know. But I could do a little better. I could use a tiny int, but do you see the second group below the tiny int? It says from 0 to 255, right? So the 0 to 255 says, oh, if you don't want to use negative numbers, I can give you the option of using only positive tiny ints. And now your range goes from 0 to 255. I think that's good enough for a range. Good enough. I don't think anybody lives beyond 255 human life. Again, you can Google and double check, but I'm hoping it's right. So an unsigned tiny int would be a good, best fit type for a age. So your job is to see what type should I use? Should I use an integer? Should I use a real number? Should I use a text? And then further you should decide which of these types must I use. So you can say, is int a wrong choice? It's not a wrong choice, but it's not the best choice. Right? So it's not wrong, but it's not the best. So my aim is that you do everything perfect. So why would you choose an int for an age? You don't need that range of numbers at all for the age of a person. Okay? So as a programmer, whether you're a web programmer or whether you're an application programmer, doesn't matter. It's choosing the best fit for the variable. So for age, I would go with the time. Okay? Now for your semester fee, it's a real number. I'm assuming, I don't know what the answers are. Maybe it's an integer too in the college. I can see many of them. I think some students have. Oh, I see this. Oh, okay. Nathan says he paid whatever, but he has a 0.38 after it. So that means it's a real number. So he paid some amount. And again, as I said, if any of you are uncomfortable of me advertising this information while I teach, please let me know and I will not use it. Okay? Because I will be using this information that you've given me when I create my tables. So Nathan has paid $14.67 and 38 cents for this semester. That's the semester tuition this semester. So it's not an integer. I can't use an integer. I can't use 0.38. It's a fractional part. So is there something else? Let's look at. Is there something else? Let's go back. If you had noticed, there was something called fixed point and floating point. There are two options. You can use a decimal, you can use numeric, you can use float, you can use double. Now you will be completely confused. You're saying 4 types. Can they just have said real and done my job? Yeah, they could have, but you know what? This is programming. You choose what you want. Now, what is the difference between fixed type and floating type? You notice how it says exact value and approximate value? Let me give you an example. Whenever you're dealing with money, you should always use an exact type. Always. Why? Because we talk about 0.38, 0.45, 0.5. Now, if you were going to use approximate values and banks started using it, or when you went to grocery, your bill was $100.55, and the guy says, you know what, pay 50. I don't need 55. We'll just kind of round it off. Or on the other hand, he says, oh, pay 60. Because 55 will just round it off. Nobody will like that. At the end of the day, neither the consumer, the customer, nor the company will work with it. It was found that if a bank would let go of single 1 penny for the customers it dealt every day, within a month, they would lose millions of dollars, right? So for money, we will always go with the exact type. And in the exact type, you notice there are 2. There is one called numeric and one that is called decimal. Let's look at the range. Now they'll tell you when you kind of click on it, it will tell you that, oh, here, see, notice how they've said salary, it's a decimal, and 5,2. In a minute, I'll tell you what this 5,2 is. The 5,2 says, so the decimal is the type. The 5 says the total width, the total size of your number. So suppose I was dealing, my maximum limit was $999.99. So what's the total? 5. 999 is 3 and 99 cents is 2. 3 and 2 is 5. So 5,2 tells you what is the total of your number, what do you want, and how many places do you need after the decimal. So you will always need 2 places after decimal whenever you are working with money. We never work with more than 2. We never work with less than 2. We always have 2 because it's a part of 100. So 0, 1 to 99 is part of 100. That's what pennies are, right? So decimal is the type that has been chosen. 5 says the total size before and after the decimal, and the 2 says how many places after decimal. In this, 5 is called the precision and 2 is called the scale. And notice that it says the range that you can put in this number is minus 999 to 99 cents to positive 999 and 99 cents. Make sense? Why 999? That's the maximum you can put in 3 digits. 3 and 2 is 5. So the 5 and 2 works this way. So kind of think, if I mention something as 5-2, this is my picture. When I say picture, I mean, it's called picture clauses, just to say the size. So what is the maximum value you can put in this? And what is the minimum value you can put in it? So if your fees is in that range, your picture will be 5,2. But I think no, it's more than that. I just saw 1478. So I will use a 6,2. Why? Because I need 4 places before the decimal and I need 2 places after. So you can either use the decimal or the numeric. Both are available. Right? They're both available. They are the same. There's not much, there's no difference between them. So don't ask me why did they create 2. But these are the 2 that you will use, the decimal and the numeric. I'll stick to decimal just because I think I'm used to it from other languages also. You will say, then when do I use this other one that they have given me, the float and the double? Now, as you notice, the float, it says approximate value. And where will you use it? The syntax remains the same, M, D. You can also use real. You can also use double precision and so on. You'll say, now, where will I use this one? Where it's not so important that the precision, that you have to be precise. Height of a person, for example. You know what I mean? Like something in centimeters. So, do you even bother? You say 155 centimeters. You say 167 centimeters. Usually you say it as an integer. But you could say 155.56, 57, 60. I mean, it's approximate. You're just giving a picture, approximate picture. Then you needn't go with decimal. Decimal numbers are huge and exact. Floats you will use for rough numbers. Height of a building. It's not at the end of the world. You know what I mean? You could use an approximate number. And they're smaller also. Their range is smaller. Okay? They can't keep very large numbers by virtue of what it is. So you can use float or double as needed. Or if you're working with money, we will go with decimal for sure. So always remember, anytime it's money, we will always go with decimal. Even like you don't even think about it twice. Exact, go with decimal or numeric, whatever you like. If it's an approximate, go with floats or doubles. So I would like you to read this a little. I won't read it in class because it's all there. Read it a little. Also, please pay attention to problems with floating point values. It's just telling you where you should use it and not, and when you compare two floating point numbers, what it is. So please see that you read it. And the var and the varchars and the chars. So we have a few things under our belt. So let's start creating a database. Okay, how do I create a database? You see something called a bit type also. As the name suggests, a bit is basically binary digit. That's what bit stands for. So if I say give me 1 bit, I can save either a 0 in it or a 1 in it. That's what a bit is. Now, bits are not very popular, but you could use a bit for a 0, 1. 0 means false and 1 means true. Now, there is no Boolean data type in MySQL. I mean, many languages have it, but this doesn't. So what will you use for a Boolean? You could use a character, YN. You could use the word yes, no, which is text, or you could use a bit, 0, 1, bit of size 1, 0, 1, 0 for false and 1 for true. So with Boolean data, you will have to make a choice. Do you want to go with YN, use a character? Would you like to go with yes, no, use character of size 3, yes is 3, Y yes, right? Or use a bit. So here is a bit. It stores bit values, type of bit M, enable storage of M bit values. M can range from 1 to 64. So this is a little more mathematical, right? But it is available. And you may, if you need at some point of time in your career to use bits, this is the type you would use. Okay? You'll say, how does it matter? 1 bit, why don't I just use a small int? A small int takes 8 bits. A bit only takes 1 bit. So storage is important everywhere. Though you don't think about it, but there is a limit to a storage. There is a limit. You can't say it's limitless. There is always a limit, right? So whenever we think, we will think as good programmers. You could be careless programmers if you want, but I think thinking right, the right type, inside the type, the right flavor, you should know. Unsigned, signed, you should know. That reflects that you're thinking like a programmer. Okay, so let's start. Please see that you have your MySQL server running. So if you have installed WAMP or XAMPP or My Community Server, whatever you have, you should first, that's your first job. To MySQL server should be running on your local machine. Then, if you remember, I said I will be using, it's not an IDE actually. I just call it an IDE because it helps me edit my or write my code. We'll be using this Workbench. Again, it's a free download. The web address was there, so we will use it to kind of work with it. Now, if you haven't yet made a connection, you could. And to make a connection, all you're saying is, this is the connection I'll always use. You could create one every time you come. Just putting it here, it's easy to do it. So I'm going to create a connection and just I'll kind of, to keep it away from my previous ones, though I don't have to. I could call it whatever I like. I'll just call it COMP2003 Winter 2018. The only thing that I want you to kind of remember here is the host name, which is your local machine, the port, which you don't change, 3306. The username is root unless you chose to change the username when you installed your SQL server, MySQL server. I didn't want to. It didn't make sense. Otherwise, I forget it. Right? So the less the better. So I didn't change the username. It stays as root. I didn't create a password. And then if I go OK, you can always test the connection. And if it was fine, it will tell you, oh, I've made a connection with your MySQL server. And this is what you need to see. If it says not successful, that means something is not working properly. You can't connect to your SQL server. And if I say an OK, I should be good. And an OK. Now, at any time, you can change this. You can always edit your connection. You don't like the name, you can change the name. Of course, the rest of the things, I don't think you'll ever change. If you want to delete it, you can always delete it. Nothing stops you. Like, you can always delete it. There should be a delete connection. Right? You can always say delete all connections, whatever you like. So now once the connection is ready, double click on it. And it will open an editor for you. So this is the editor. On the left-hand side, you will see, you may not see all these databases that I see because I've been creating them from my rest of the classes. As soon as you will see that, as soon as you start creating, you will see them listed there. They're also called schemas. Okay. It's just telling you your server status, your client connection, and so on. Not much to see here, but as and when, even after today, you will start seeing that you have some databases here. Okay. Okay, now this is saying query 1 here, and there are a few buttons here. You can always create a new SQL tab for executing queries, this is what you are seeing here. You can always open a file that already exists, and then a few more here as we need and go on. So if I wanted to open a file from a previous class, I would say open a script, and I can always choose a script. Okay, so if you work today and we have to work on the same script the next week, of course you won't create a new one. If you want to create a new one, you will click on this plus, you'll say create a new one and see how it says SQL file. So you can just remove this or even use that, it really doesn't matter. Now I'm ready to create my first SQL script. Right, I'm ready to create my first SQL script. So my job today, to teach you how to create a database, to teach you how to create a table, and then to populate that table with this data you've given me, and then of course retrieve the data table, right? Data from the table. Those are my jobs today. We should be able to finish it in 3 hours. Okay. If time permits, I'm hoping yes, you will have your first in-class assignment to work on. Okay. Okay. So let's start. Now, whenever you write a program, we are calling it scripts. In SQL, instead of calling them SQL programs, we call them scripts. And notice how it says script there also. It just says SQL file, but they're called SQL scripts. I don't know why, but they're not that heavy like programs. They're very easy to write. Okay. So whenever you write a script or a program, whether you are a web program or an application program, really doesn't matter. Please see that you comment your code well. There should be comments for me. Now, SQL is very English-like. Very English-like. So it's not a huge thing that for every line, I'll write a comment. Now I'm creating a database. Now I'm creating a table. Hardly. But my job is to show you how to write the comments.
How do you zoom in?
How do you use what?
How did you zoom in?
Oh, press the control key and then use your mouse wheel.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like normal, like anything else. No problem. Right? Okay, so now comments. What I want from you always at the head of every assignment script that you give me, exam script, is your name, your date, the date on which you did it, and more important, the purpose of the script. Why are you writing this? Don't say Anju told us to. Don't say assignment 1. What is the script doing? Right? So how do you write comments in SQL? Right? So a few ways, 3 ways actually. We'll start with the first one, which is called block commenting. Block commenting starts with a slash and a star and ends with a star and a slash. These are called block comments. The use of block comments, you can write as many comments as you like in different lines. It's a block, and then you end it with a star and a slash. This is one way of writing comments in SQL. Common in other languages also, like Java and C# also. Right? Okay, so I want your name, the date on which you did your assignment, so that I know that, and a simple date will do. I'm not looking anything. This is more for reference than anything else. Your name is more than reference for me. And the purpose of the script. That's very important. So now in terms of purpose, for example, what will I do today? I'll create a database. So just please see correct, grammatically correct, proper English, clear and simple. Okay. Create a database and a table therein to store student information or information about students. Make sense to everybody? Right, so I'm saying I'll create a database. I'm saying I'll create a table inside it, in that database, and I'll put student information in it. I should also be able to retrieve data or to select data. Right, simple, yes.
How can we make it so all the text isn't on one line?
Is not on one line?
Yeah, so it.
Yeah, if you do, yeah. So in tools, you should have a word wrap somewhere. See if you have a word wrap somewhere. Edit, format. See if in preferences, somewhere you should be able to word wrap it. And you're right, instead of doing a return for myself, it will be easy. Let's see, it has to be somewhere in edit, right? SQL indent tab width. That's coming in general editors. Okay, there we are, SQL editor. Somewhere here, see if there says word wrap or something. Auto save. I don't see a word wrap. That's the only one I see in SQL. There has to be, there should be. I mean, it's an editor, so, but I can't see it right away. Use uppercase keyword on completion, change keywords to uppercase, enable code completion. Some people don't like code completion editors. You can always remove it. I don't think there should be it in something else. Okay, so that's not it. Let's no, okay, let's cancel. Maybe it's in a small button here itself. There, I see it. Toggle wrapping of log lines, toggle display of invisible. There it is. Toggle wrapping of lines. There. Okay, do that. It should be somewhere else in preferences. I don't see, but I see a button right here. So now let's see if it kind of goes this way. Does it toggle itself? Yep, that's what it is. This is a small button here where it says toggle wrapping of long lines. So this should be present somewhere in the menu also, which I can't find right now, but that's how you will do it. So I'll keep it so that I don't have to do it. Okay, so that's commenting. So at the head of every script, I need your name, the date, and the purpose of the script. Why are you writing? What does the script do? Okay, and this is called block commenting. You say, is there other ways? Yeah, there are other ways. I'll show you as I write more comments. Okay, they are called line comments. Okay, now for the rest of the script, I don't want you to give me each and every line. It's so English, like you will see that I don't want comments for each and every line, but every section would be good. So for example, now I'm going to write a line comment. So line comments in SQL can be written in 2 ways. You can start with a hash. And do you notice something else? These are color coded, gray. So you know it's a comment. So that helps too, right? So another way of commenting in SQL, in my SQL, using this workbench is the hash. This is called a hash. And this is for line comment. Line comment says you will only be writing a line. So I'm going to write a line. I'm going to say, create a database. Now there will be more to come, and therefore I've written a line. I've kind of written it and use it. Okay. So this is called line commenting. I just needed a line. I could have written slash star and then written it and then written a star slash again, but that's more work, isn't it? Like, why would I type in 4 characters? I'm as lazy as all programmers. One hash does, so I work with the hash. So this is called line commenting in minus in SQL. Okay. Now let's learn commands. Now I leave it to you. Usually I prefer to write my keywords. Keywords are those words that have a special meaning already in the language. You cannot use them for anything else. They have a meaning. So notice how they've turned blue. So these are called keywords. Please do not use keywords for other purposes. You'll say, what other purposes? Naming a variable, naming a database. Don't call your database create. Keyword. So keyword have special meanings already in the language. Leave them alone. Right? Just leave them alone. So to create a database in SQL, this is the command that you give. Can you use lowercase letters? SQL is case insensitive. Doesn't really matter. You can use uppercase or lowercase, combine them or whatever. It really doesn't matter. For me, just to bring your attention to the keywords, I write them in caps so that you see them. Maybe after you kind of get it, then I'll say it's other. I mean, why is it difficult for me? I'll have to put on caps lock and then remove it and so on while I type. But just so that to bring your attention that these are keywords. But you can always write them in small. Choose whatever preference you like. Okay. Now to create a database, as the command tells you, quite a simple English-like command, create a database. Now, what database? The name of the database. Now, the rules that you use to name a database, I will say, how do I know it? Google it. See it in the manual. For your information, this is what it is. You can use letters, A, B, C to Z, uppercase, lowercase, doesn't matter. You can use the underscore character. You can't use blanks. You can use the underscore, and you can use numbers too, 1, 2, 3 digits. Right? You can. Conventions, any conventions out there that you can use? I prefer to use a convention that I will start my database name with a DB. Database. It's a convention. If you don't want to use it, sure, it's up to you. Again, and I'll tell you the conventions as we go on. Stick to a convention in a script. Don't mix conventions in a script. If you're going to use this convention that my database name will start with a DB, my table names will start with a TBL, please follow it throughout the script. Follow one convention throughout. Don't mix and match. Similarly with naming conventions, more naming conventions. So I'll use this convention. I'll start my database name with a DB, and to kind of differentiate it, if you write something like one word, if I say something like this, it's kind of difficult to read. I mean, it makes sense. We could because we know it's students, but it is easier to read it if you kind of write it like this. So you're breaking your words. So I'm going to use this convention. I use all lowercase for the names. Again, me, I choose to do this. It's not my convention. It's a convention in the database word. I will separate my words with the underscore. What other convention is available? You could have done it like this. Every time you have a new word, like students or whatever, you start it with a capital letter. It's called the camel case convention, for your information. Right? This convention, it's present in other languages also, like Java. So this is called camel case conventions. I have found that this is more common in the database world. So I've stuck to it from the DB, up entirely up to you. If you want to, sure. If you don't want to, don't do it. To me, it just makes it easy. DB for database, TBL for tables, right? Again, it's up to you. I'm going to use the underscore to crack my words. So if I had another one, DB students like computer science, I would have gone like this. That's how I'll use it. So I'll break my words with underscores. Anytime you want to make something, like usually the word ID, for example, is made all capital. So if you wanted to make computer science capital, I could do it. Right? I could. So I'll kind of call my database DB students. So create database is a command. It's an SQL command. Right? You can't change it. It has to be exactly written like this. You can't say create databases. You can't say create without a key. It has to be exactly written like this. It's a keyword. It's a command. It's a command which is telling your script, when you run the script, it's telling you to create a database by the name of DB students. All statements must be terminated by a semicolon. Statement done, right? Once you create a database, you have to, before you can start working with it, you have to use it. So use it. If you don't use it, you can't work with it. So that use is important. There's another way of doing it, but we'll go to easy way first, right? So create a database and use it. Simple statements, right? And that's exactly what I wrote in my comments. I said create a database and use it. And very English-like. Therefore, I said commenting in SQL is not a big deal. It's really easy. Now, my second, just to show you, I won't do this I wouldn't do it if I was writing a professional script. Just telling you another way of writing a comment. You can also write a line comment by 2 dashes and a blank. Hash doesn't need a blank after it. The 2 dashes needs a blank. That's another way of writing a comment in an SQL script. A line comment. You could put it in front of every line you want. So instead of using block commenting, if you like, you can say hash, 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 or double dash, double dash, double dash. I mean, it's entirely up to you. Block commenting is easy if you go the first way I've gone. But you could have used this also. Now I'm going to create a table. Just to show you. I mean, I don't want to make my script untidy. Therefore, I'll always use one way of commenting. Like I'll use either a hash or a double, but it's nothing like they're both available. So create a table is my next job. That means I should know how to create a table now. Right? How to now create a table. So as the name suggests, it won't be too bad. The command is called create table. Again, a simple command. Right? Now, logically, the name of the table. Okay. So again, my convention is I'll put the TBL of it. And the advantage of this convention where you put DB or table in front of it is now I don't have to think of something else. I can still call it table students. So the database is called database students. The table is called table students. If I wasn't using DB and TBL, I would have to think of it differently. Just a little bit of cheating, right? You could have called your database DB Georgian College. So your databases and tables are named according to information that you are keeping. So if I was creating a Georgian College database, I would have just called it GC. Right? I mean, you could go that way. Nothing stops you. It's not necessary that the name that you use here has to be used here. I could have just called it GC. And again, because GC was, I would like to keep it capital, I could have gone capital GC. Okay. Okay. So let's call it, I'm again going to call it students. Oh, no, not yet done. Now, the table I want to create. So there is a syntax here, and we'll follow that syntax. So the create table command is called create table. Then comes the name of the table. Then come 2 round brackets in which the fields of the table will go, and then comes the sentence. So now you define your fields inside here. You can indent your code for easy reading. Indentation is always good for human eyes. Okay, now the fields. The names of the fields, the types of the fields, their sizes, everything has to go in. So let's look for good names of the fields. Student name is a good enough name. Name itself is good enough, but I want to bring something to your notice here. I write name and it goes blue. That means name is a reserved word, is a keyword. I could use it, it doesn't complain. But I would like you not to get into the habit of using keywords at all. Because maybe SQL is okay with it. I don't care attitude, but maybe PHP is not okay. You know what I mean? So always try to make good habits. So don't use keywords. So you'll say, oh, but I like that name. I want to call my field name. What's the big deal? Call it student name. Right? So now the name of my field. So name is, you will see it will turn blue. I will avoid using reserved words and I'll call it student name. That's the name of my field. How many fields do we want? We want a student name, we want an age, birthplace, email, the semester fee, the job desired, and the favorite size. Quite a few fields. We'll just put them. Not a big deal at all. We'll just put them. Sequence doesn't matter. Sequence doesn't matter. Right now, I'll tell you where it will matter, but right now it doesn't matter. We usually put it in an order because we think orderly, right? It's just our human brains. Okay, now the type of the field. We already decided that we would go with text for a name. We saw 2 flavors. We saw a character, char, and we saw a varchar, variable character. If you remember last week, I was talking about it. I'll clarify it again today. I could go char. Notice how it's gone blue. right? And in the brackets, I have to say how much do I want. So if sometimes this help is really very irritating, you can always remove it. You can write it like this. Again, oops, I forgot. I was trying to say I'll keep my reserved words in caps. And that's what is irritating. You'll have to remember, because caps lock. Anyway, so that's one way of saying it. I'm saying that every student name that I will be saving, I'll be allocating on my hard disk, wherever I'm saving it, on my storage, I will be allocating 40 characters to them, fixed 40 characters. Use it or don't use it. You have 40 characters. So it's like saying you have these 40 characters. If you use all of them good enough, you can go beyond, you'll get an error. You can go less if you like, but you still have this one. They're done, they're yours. That's one way of doing it. You'll say there's nothing wrong in it, and I agree there is nothing, but think of it. If I have 5,000 students in Georgia College, and for every student name I give away 40 characters, I'm basically giving away 40 into 5,000 bytes for name. And not everybody needs it. My name is not 40 characters. Maybe somebody's is. So the 40, from where does that 40 magic number come? Experience. Right? So you are a programmer, you've written programs, you know that names are usually of this size. Would you go 400? Absolutely not. You'll say ridiculous. How do you know ridiculous? Because experience. So names could be 40. You'll say, let's go 60. I'll kind of go 60, but I won't go 100. You know what I mean? And I won't go 10. Names are not that short. And we're talking full names here. Yes, if it was last name and first name, I could have gone 20, 20. Right? Now, so that's about character. Every record, every row will have 40 characters for the name. Use it, good. Don't use it, waste. A better way, you'll say, how does it matter? I have so much of storage. Who cares? At the end of the day, you have to care because it builds up. Trillions of records, it builds up. Instead of char, I'll use another data type called varchar. The advantage of varchar is this. A maximum of 40 is allocated. You can use less. You will only get as much as you. Definitely better. My name takes 20 characters. I get 20. My record gets 20. Right? Somebody else's character, Zach's character gets Zach whatever, gets different, but we are not wasting space. So you accumulate as much as you take, as the record takes as much as you need. So we'll go with that. Varchar, variable character. Var standing for variable, right? So I choose to go varchar. You'll say, where do you think we will use a char? Maybe if I want to say yes, no in it, I'll go with a char. Yes takes 3, no takes 2, but it's not a big deal. 4 numbers. I'll give maybe character 10 for every 4 number. If I know that they have 10, we'll say, oh, but 4 number is a number. Why are you making it a varchar? But do you ever do any math with 4 numbers? No. So I'll go with a varchar, right? Because varchar is like a string. I won't do any math. So varchar is so noisy, right? You were getting up for the same purpose. They keep disturbing. Yeah, I think they're cooking something today. Anyway, okay. Now, that's my first field. Sorry. Yeah, you at least need to leave one blank. Just one will do. I kind of go this because some names will be shorter, field names will be shorter. It just is neatness and readability. Remember, readability is important to humanize. If you're going to work with projects with people around you, with group members, they should be able to read your code. Code reading is a big thing. Everybody reads code. All programmers read code. Okay. So I keep that space to make it neat, and I would like you to follow that. Okay. Now something else. We kind of, I don't think we have an opposition here. We kind of said that every student must be recognized by a name. Like it makes no sense to store a record without a student name. It's their identification. Maybe I could have chosen a student ID, which is better because 2 people could have the same name, but 2 people will not have, 2 students won't have a student ID. But for now, let's assume that name should be present. It's a field that should be present in every record. Because without a name, a record is useless. That record is useless. What will I do? Whose email address is that? Whose favorite sites are that? So name is important. So if I would like to enforce this rule, that name must be provided in every record in the table, then this is all I tell it. I say, not null. It cannot be null. and thou put a comma. Comma says I'm done. The definition, the name, the type, any extra rules, impositions, and then put a comma. So not null because we decided that we can't leave the name null. I have to provide the name of the person. Otherwise, it's a useless record. Right? Yes.
So do we have to program the behavior of that
area? Yes.
Or
okay, so now when you say not null and you try to put a record in the database and you don't give it a name, it will come back with an error.
Okay.
So you are enforcing it, yes.
Okay.
Right? So by not null, you are saying when somebody enters a record in that table by insert command, ensure that a name is provided. Otherwise, it will come. Oops, syntax error. It will come up with an error. So you are enforcing a rule. Now to enforce that rule, you have to set the environment, but it's not a very difficult one. I'll set you how to do it, but not null. Okay. We said we need an email. You could go student email. You could go only email, whatever you like. Email is not a reserved word. What about emails? You could go character something, but again, emails come in all sizes. You know what I mean? So what will I choose again? Varchar. What do you think for an email? 6 should be good enough. 40, yeah, it's, I mean, 100 is too much. Oh yeah, do you think, have you heard of that big emails, 100 characters? Yeah, like those are big for me. But again, it really depends. And again, keep in mind that you're not writing something in the air. When you're writing an application for a company, that company will tell you, here is my customer data. Or here is the data that, so you can always look at it and make an educated guess. So make an educated guess. So 40 is not bad too. It's perfectly fine. I think 40 is good enough. You could go 50, you could go 60. I'll just kind of give it a different number and we'll leave it at that. Now, is it a rule that every person, if it is a rule in the college that you have to give your email, sure. But if it's okay, you may not, I'll leave that field empty. Then I won't impose the not null. I won't impose the not null. So I don't have anything else to say. I'll put a comma and I'll go to the next line. Now, after the comma, you could have written your field names in the same line. You could. Nothing stops you. Comma is the separator. Semicolon is the terminator. But again, for neatness purposes, I put my field names in different lines. The sequence doesn't matter. Okay. Then we had age. We'll go with age just to give you a different type. Okay. Just to give you a different type. Just to give you a flavor. Now, we kind of already decided. We said, oh, age was a tiny int. Remember when I showed you the type? So how do you say tiny int? Just go tiny int. Just name it. Again, lowercase is perfectly fine. I'll try to put my keywords in uppercase to bring your attention, to draw your attention, but it's perfectly fine. We also said that age cannot be negative. And we said we'll use an unsigned tiny int. So add unsigned to it. The sequence is important. Don't call it unsigned tiny int, say tiny int unsigned. The sequence is important. You'll say, what if I forget? Try to give it opposite and it will show you a squiggly, I think. So if I kind of say unsigned tiny int, see, there is a squiggly, a red line below unsigned. And if you, I don't know if it helps, it says syntax error. You'll say, but what's the syntax error? It says this is unexpected. This is not where I was expecting you to write unsigned. So that means I did something wrong. And this is what I did wrong. So again, by habit, you will understand, like you will learn that there is a syntax. Okay. So what have you said? You've said age is a tiny int and it is unsigned. Now again, if I say unsigned and I try to put a negative value in it, it will say, you can't do that.
So unsigned just means you can't put a negative value.
No, only positive values are allowed in this field.
Okay. That's all it means.
Right? So unsigned means that you can only put positive values in that field. Positive numbers in the range of 0 to 255. That's it. So tiny int says the range and unsigned added to it is kind of adding it to the range in a sense 0 to 255, which tells you can't put negative numbers in it. If I had only said tiny, then you can put any number between minus 128 to 127 in that field. You could, because that's the range of your tiny int. So choose the right type and choose the right rules with it. Right? So unsigned. So again, if you had said integer, int with student age, I couldn't dock off your marks. But if my question says that please choose the best fit for your fields, then you're going to lose marks. That's not the best fit. It's not a best fit at all. Why would you choose an integer that can save 214748367 age? For an age, that's what you're choosing. You didn't think about it. So if the question says, which will be in, it will be in your first assignment, best fit field, I'm trying to emphasize my types here. That means you will lose marks if you don't choose the right type. Okay? Okay, and then not null, I could, if I say, oh, if you don't give me your age, that's fine. But it's not compulsory. Maybe you don't provide me your age. Maybe it's not an important field. Again, who decides which is an important field, which must be present, what should be? You, the programmer. From where? Educated guesses from the data that has been provided to you. Okay, so we had a student age. Let's call, I asked, I'm trying to take different fields so that I can finish it off quickly. Then we have the semester fee you paid, right? So we already said, anytime we are dealing with money, which type do we use? Decimal. We've already kind of talked about it, right? So let's go decimal. I don't think you pay more than 10 grand. Right? So how many spaces do you need before decimal? 3 spaces before decimal is short. $999, no. If I make it 4, that is 9999. I don't think you pay more than that, do you? No. So we'll go with 4 places before decimal. How many places after decimal? Always 2. So what's the total? 6. So decimal 6, 2. There is a default also. Look it up in the manual. I think the default says 0 places after decimal or something or 2. I can't remember. But why should we rely on default values or, oh, what is it? So there should be some default length. Maybe the default length is 4, 0, 4, 2. I don't know. I've never even looked at it. Why should I? I, as a programmer, should exactly know what I'm doing. So you could only say the word decimal, and then SQL may have some default size of its own. 4, 0, 4, 2, 4, 1. I don't know. Like, I have no clue. You can look it up if you want. So I am precise. I say I need 6 places in all, 4 before decimal, 2 after decimal. Now, can the fee be ever negative? Think about it. Can your semester fee be a negative number? No. So what should you add in front of it? There. Now you cannot input a negative value in that field. You cannot. It will complain. Right? So say decimal and then say the word unsigned. There were a few more. Oh, what was it? Job desired. Notice how I'm using one convention. I'm using the underscore to differentiate between my words. So it's kind of a break, word break character I'm using. I'm using all lowercase. I'm not mixing and matching. It will look very untidy. Try doing it. Job in capital, desired in small, or whatever. So please follow one convention. And you'll say, where do I look up this convention? Google it. I'm telling you one of them for sure. This is a convention that is used, and I stick to it. I like it. It's easy to read, and it's different from our programming languages. You could have used the camel case convention. I like this one in SQL. Choose whatever you like. Now the job desired. It's a varchar for sure. Now comes the question. Now, will a person only desire a job? My question was not very clear. I didn't say, tell me your first preference. Then you would have only given one job. Now, I didn't say anything. I just said job desired. I don't know how many of you thought of it. Does she want us to just list all of them? I can have 2 job preferences. I would like to be a web programmer. I would like to be a mainframe programmer. I would like to be an application programmer. I would like to be a DBA. So I didn't specify anything. And so maybe some of you came up with 1 job desired. Or maybe you said she didn't say jobs desired. So she's asking for 1. But it was very unclear. So now, and you know what? Half the time data may be unclear. So you'll have to again think about what are we doing. So now I'll say, you know what? I don't know. Maybe some people give me 2. Some people give me 3. I don't know. So I'll kind of go varchar. And here 100 would not be a bad choice. It could be if only there was 1 job. It could be a very bad choice, but I say maybe people will give me 2. Maybe people will give me 3. I don't know, because my questionnaire was not clear. I didn't say give me your first preference. Then I would always get a answer. Even then people don't follow instructions, but I'm assuming, right? So I'm going 100. You'll say, that's too much. Like this, even if you want 2 or 3, maybe that's too much. Sure. Educated guesses, guys. Educated guesses. If you want to make it a compulsory field, then put not null. If you want to say, you know what, some people are lazy. Now this is a questionnaire that is asking programmers about their job preferences. I'm taking information from programmers. I mean, that's my clients, okay? So if I think, oh, you know what, if you don't give me something, if you don't provide me any information at all about your job desired, I'm going to just say programmer. I'll save that. So what is default now? Default says, if you give me a value, I'll save it in this field. If you do not give me a value, I'll put programmer in it. Still, I'll put a program. You say, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't want anything. Don't give a default value. But sometimes, yes, no, you can put a default of yes. You know what I mean? Like, you can choose default values if you like. Just introducing you to a few things. You don't have to use all of them, but you should be aware of them. So default programmer says that if I don't provide it a value, automatically what will be saved in this field? Programmer. Right? So there it is. That's the use of default. Can you combine not null, default, and yeah, things, it can be combined. Rules can be combined. I'm just going slow and steady since this is our first class. Okay, and then there were favorite sites. I would avoid abbreviations like fav. It's not a big deal to kind of complete a word. Don't be that lazy. But who knows, right? Everybody's different. You could call it fave sites if you like. There's nothing wrong in it. As long as the name gives me an idea, it's good enough. I haven't called them ABCXYZ. That definitely would have been a blunder to call your fields ABCXYZ. You don't do that. Never do that. Because maybe after 2 days, you won't know what those fields mean. You know what I mean? You won't know. But this way, of course, every name is making sense. Now, favorite sites. Now, that's a big one. Somebody could have 10 favorite sites. Somebody could have 1, 10, 2, 3, 4, God knows how many. I just said favorite sites. Is she asking me to give the URLs? www. whatever. Is she just saying google.com? Is she just saying search engines? There was no clarity at all. Right? There was no clarity. So I'll get all kind of garbage. I will. Right? You could say something like google.ca. Some of you will say www. whatever. Some of you may be very, very specific. http:// whatever. I could get all kind of answers. Right? Or you could just say something like gaming sites. Favorite sites, gaming sites. It could be anything. So, you know what? You have to live with this. Programmers live with this all the time. They'll have to always make educated guesses. So I'm saying, you know what? Let's go 100. And maybe 100 is even short. Maybe 200. Who knows? There it is. And I think I've kind of done almost all of the fields of all types. And there finishes my. Don't put a comma in the last field. You have finished defining your table, describing your table. This is a part of DDL, data definition language. You're defining something, right? You're defining a table. So this is a DDL example, data definition language part of SQL. That's what the DDL was in your course context. Table has been defined. So now what will happen? A table will be created. It will be called table students. It will be defined with these fields, but there is no data in it. Of course, there's no data in it. I didn't populate it with data yet. But save this script, please. So let's do a Control S. And let's create a, it depends on what you want to do. I'm doing this for myself. I'm going to create a W2018 folder. Oops. Already contains. Okay, so it already contains. So seems like I have a W2018 folder from last week. I must have created it last week. And I'll start saving my scripts here. Why? Because you should always save your scripts. You're not going to write them every time, right? So I'm going to save the script. And again, for my own purpose, so that I can remember, I'm going to call it January 26 students. And the .SQL will be automatically added to it. You don't have to say .SQL. Do you notice the default save as type .SQL? So I'm calling it January 26 students so that I can remember the day I did it. It helps me. Okay? It's up to you how you want to save it. You can create folders. You can call it week 1, week 2, week 3. For me, I'm not doing that because I'm not talking weeks here. I'm talking lessons here. Okay. And that's my script. My script is saved. So next time when I come and I want to open it, I'll use the open script command. Let's run it. Let's see if the script runs. Right? I don't see any syntax error. You will always have a syntax error. You will see that you can have a syntax error and it will give you a red squiggly. Before running it, it's a good thing to kind of see, I see a red squiggly here. Something is wrong. So it helps. The editor helps me. I've made a mistake. What is my mistake? My comma after the last field. So if you can learn from writing, and you will kind of learn. If you don't, then you'll have to look it up. You'll say, how will I look it up? It will give you an odd number, SQL error, this. Please look up the manual, Google it. Right? It shouldn't be bad, but you will learn with it. So let's run the script. I don't see any red squigglies. My script should run. So here is a run command. Do you see this one? Execute the selected portion. It says you haven't selected anything. You could just click, everything will run. There is a second one which says execute the statement under the keyboard cursor. So sometimes I only want to kind of run a line. You will see I will, but for now I won't select anything. I'll just say run.
For us, or at least for me, that option is blanked out. Like, right? I'm not able to select it.
Oh, you can't select this? Now, why would that be? You should be able to select the run, the execute commands.
Is anybody else having that issue?
It must be something in your settings. Something in the settings. It shouldn't be grayed out. I've never heard of it. Grayed out too?
Because I'm not connected.
Oh, okay, you're not connected. So that was the first job we did. We
Yeah.
created a connection.
Yeah, so I need to set so
Exactly. So save this script somewhere and then create a connection and come back.
okay.
Right? So that you have it. Oh, you never connected. Okay. So that's your first step. You have to make a connection to your SQL server. Otherwise, how will you execute? That's why it is grayed out.
Can I
Just save the script somewhere. Just
Okay.
save it somewhere and then make a connection and then copy paste again. Or open a script. Yeah, so if you are not connected, these you won't see them. Not connected means you didn't make a connection. See, I made a connection and I double click this to open my editor. So my connection is running. Okay, so let's execute it. And please notice that you see 3 green go aheads here. It says the database was created. It says the database was used. And it says I've created a table. But the whole question is where? So now I know where, because I told you that you can always check where, but you will also see on your left-hand side. You will notice that on your left-hand side in this window, the DB students, what did I call it? DB students. It should be highlighted in black. If not, then I have to find it. DBS, 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 DB underscore S. This is what happens when you... Yeah, here it is on the left, DB students. Refresh it. Here is a refresh button. Refresh it. You see a refresh button? There. Right. Refresh it. Sometimes it doesn't refresh. So notice how. Yeah, it's there. Don't worry. Right. That is the name of the table database we created. So please look at this. I'll give you a break. I know you need a break. Just look at it and I'll give you a break. Notice how the database is called DB students. Inside the DB students, there are tables. Click on the tables. Expand it. The table is called TBL students. Under the TBL students are your columns, and those are your columns. So please expand and see. That's exactly what has been done. You see? So a database, notice the icons. It's like a drum, like a disc, big disc. So a database called TBL students has been created. Inside there you saw tables. Click on tables, expand it, you will see TBL students. That's the name of the table you created. Inside there, you will again see foreign keys, triggers, indexes, and so on. We will work with foreign keys, triggers, and indexes are in the second course. Click on the table 2 students, you will see columns, and under columns, you will see these columns. Right? There they are. So something got created. There it is. It got created. Now you'll say, where is it going physically? If you click on your green button, if you're using WAMP or XAMPP or whatever, if you click on your button and you go to MySQL's INI file, it's the initialization file, you will see that it should be the default for everybody. That is where my databases are going by default. That is where my databases are going. So on your green icon, do a right click, MySQL, choose the INI file, initialization file, and there it is. There is where your tables are, your databases are going. And I should go and clean it up. I have a mess there from summer semester. How do you find it? Okay, so what are you using, WAMP or XAMPP? WAMP. Okay, so go to that green symbol in the status bar. Click on it. Click on the MySQL. Do you notice there is a file called my.ini? Click on it. It will open up. It's your initialization file, and there should be something called data directory. There it is. Look.
Is there anything like about that we need to know?
So we won't need to use it. I'm just telling you where your databases are going on your local drive.
Okay.
I'm just showing you where they are going. Just so that you know that when you're done with this class and you want to remove them, you go and remove them from there. Yes.
How does that work with XNAME?
I think you should be able to find the myni file. Search for it. It should be somewhere like.
Go ahead and click on the MySQL line. Okay. And you're going to see myni.
Because yours is open up in the same folder, in the same note. In Notepad. I don't know what I'm doing. Mine is also Notepad. Okay, so next come down for something called data. Let me go control F. Data? No, it's one more data.
Oh.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, so your files are going in that direction. So if you go on your local machine and go to C, BAM 64, bin, whatever, there is where it is. Physically. They have to be saved somewhere physically, right?
Like you're talking about like in the folders, but we're going like my dog.
Exactly. There is where it is. Okay? Okay, so we'll take a break of 20 minutes. Our database is created, a table is created, doesn't have anything inside it. But we'll come back and work on it. It's 12:25. Please be back in 20 minutes and we'll continue the class. This is just to show you where your data is going, not your script. Script you saved wherever you wanted to save it.
I was.
Okay, I'll tell you what that problem is. Don't worry, you've run the script more than once.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Don't worry. We'll talk about it after the
I
break.
missed the first class because my flight came in day of the first class.
So-
I did do
The paperwork?
so
Okay, Andrew. Oh, so you're Andrew. Okay, that's fine. No big deal. I was just so that I have it when I start putting it in. I needed it, but you've done it. Good to me.
so I can send this to you. Or
Not necessarily, no. Yeah, good. Thank you.
You should check out what they're making.
Slow. Damn, that was the first one.
Is that great?
Did you struggle this morning too?
Yes.
Connected with the MySQL server. I have like this. So this is connected, but it's not connecting with my local server in the work.
Can I go to home and? Oh, you've opened the MySQL Server Management Studio.
Yeah.
Oh, you are in a different IDE altogether. We are using MySQL Workbench. This one.
Yeah, I have that, but like I've connected. I don't have like XAMPP or I just have the.
Yeah, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. So which one is it? The local
Like-
root?
Yeah, so it's not connecting. Yeah.
Oh, because there is no host. Okay, come back. Come back to your home again. Right click on local root. Let's say edit connection.
Yeah, I think
Let's say test connection. Failed to connect. Okay, so now why did it fail to connect? Now, if you're not using XAMPP or WAMP, do you have a MySQL? Did you download the MySQL community server? Do you have to, how do you start it? I don't know. I've never used it.
MySQL server. Yeah,
Okay, so start that server first.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so we need to start that. That server must be running, right?
Yeah,
So I've never used it, so I don't know. But how do you run it? How do you execute? How do you make it run?
Yeah, so this is like. So we have this for.
Yeah. But
Yeah, so this is.
so is it running? Does it tell you that it is
Yeah,
running?
Yeah.
Connect? Do we say connect?
It's connected.
Oh, it is connected, right? So the management studio tells you that it is connected, right? So why is the come back to your SQL script? Yeah. Why does this say it's not connected? Do a test connection again.
I think there is problem in configurations.
Do you think you have a password or something that you haven't stored here? Do you have a different username?
No, this like like this server doesn't have password.
No, but this is not a server at all. You know what I'm trying to say? This is just a IDE, right? So if your server
this
is running,
has no password inside. This one, no password. Just like it's on the local. Like
Yeah.
This is for my laptop.
oh, but it is in,
It's SQL server. Like
yeah, it is a SQL server. This is not the server we are using. We are using a MySQL.
MySQL.
Yeah, this is, oh, this is a SQL server. This is different. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so my SQL server is in the workbench. Like,
No, it's not. Workbench is just an IDE. For MySQL server, you have to download the MySQL server. You're talking about SQL server. Those are two different things. MySQL is a different server. Okay. So for those, I'd already given options on Blackboard. So if you don't want to download WAMP or XAMPP, then you go to the MySQL Community Edition and download.
Community edition. Okay.
Yeah, it will say on Blackboard. Okay.
Okay.
Are we?
I want to, like I plan to, but I don't know if we're actually going.
I'll play.
Are we
I'll play with
like
like a go.
this one?
Do you have a
Where? Here, there.
this one?
This one, right?
Right, this one. Yeah.
I already like put
But
it
32-bit, why 32-bit? 64-bit one.
Oh, you
32.
mean next to it there, right?
I
That
think
was a 32-bit.
Yeah.
But your machine should be a 64-bit machine. It's a new machine, right?
I don't think so.
Can I
No?
give them actually free?
It is a 32-bit machine?
I don't know. Maybe I try 64.
Yeah, right. 64 maybe.
And then I
So from here, choose the Microsoft.
Oh, okay. So-
maybe
Hmm.
go back.
Alright.
So I think so.
This
Oh,
one.
okay.
This one. I think so. Your machine should be 64, right?
Now go back on to that ID.
Okay, so what I did was, I
Okay.
opened up XAMPP,
Mm-hmm.
I pressed start just for MySQL,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, so that established the connection.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first thing I do. Like when we start this class, I should start
Yep.
that,
Yep.
start,
And yep.
and then run
Then-
that.
yeah.
And that way my connections are gonna be enabled. But this isn't like something that's gonna like enable like, somebody else to access it or anything, right? No, it's just from my computer. Okay, and then that makes it so that that's the only reason that I didn't have a no connection at first,
Yes,
right? Because
yes,
when I
yes.
came in, I didn't.
Yes. You have to always start exam before you do it.
Okay. And then I pressed
Right?
this, run, and then that's why it works. Okay. good.
Yeah, but you're getting an error
Okay, what's the error?
because we'll talk about it after the break. What does it say? Can't create database, it already exists.
Oh, why
And
does it
I'll
already?
yeah, I'll tell you why it already exists.
Did everybody else already have that?
Yes, everybody will have it, don't worry. I'll have it too.
And then reopen that. Alright, so close the program down and then open it back up. Leave this open. Close it. Open up the one you did just now. It's the same program. Okay, that one, yeah. the one I was just- Really, like,
So I was like installing the server, so it seems like it's already in it. Like
You're trying to, does it say it's already in there?
yeah, so like so I installed like this
Mhm.
my SQL installer. When I was adding like my SQL server says like it's already exists.
Then
Yeah,
what?
here as well.
So then why it says no host, no socket, nothing else? What's going on there then?
Yeah.
It says no connection, so it's
Yeah.
not done.
Previously, I used to connect with the WAMP. Yeah. Yeah. So
Do you have app?
no, but I
Okay, now let's try I don't know. Come to home again. Which one of these do we use then?
yeah I have like for previous classes, so I have local root.
Yeah. But it says no connection, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to home. Let's edit it. Let's delete it and create a new one. I mean, what can go wrong? You know what I mean? Like, okay, try it. Call it COMP2003 so that you can remember the course.
So username.
No, nothing. If you didn't change anything, no, root, keep it root. I mean, you installed it, so I don't know whether you do a test connection.
Yeah.
No, it says failed.
Connect to MySQL. This.
That means when you installed your MySQL server, did you change it from root to something else? Did you change the port? It's like, did you do something? Because I wouldn't know. It says there is no with user root. No, that can be changed. You're connecting on your local host.
Yeah.
You have to put it in. Put that 127.0 in. So now the other thing that could be wrong is maybe you didn't call your user root.
I have to like reinstall the server.
Yeah, because if you made changes there, then I wouldn't know about it. You have to remember them, right?
Or you have to install WAMP.
No, you can do the MySQL community server if you want, but whatever you install, you have to know the username and you have to know the password, right?
Okay, I'll do it.
What the hell?
Like making shades.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love making shades.
All I remember was like 25. We have one time. Yeah, you did. Open the one I did.
Yeah.
પછી પાછો આવશે 15. પછી 5 દિવસ સુધી કાલ પાછું કાલ જવાબ છે એટલે કાલ સાંજે પછી પાછું
She snapped on me yesterday. Hey, how's your thing going? It was just an application. Okay, sorry. My bad for talking. No, not that. Yeah, I like it. It's not worth on your PlayStation, trust me. I know the one thing is you're gonna throw out your PlayStation.
I cannot connect. There's just no connection.
Which server are you running? What are you running?
So we connect the server, but this just says could not connect.
Yeah, so server is not running. So which server do you have installed? What did you install?
Install?
Which server do you have?
Which server?
Like your actual Mac or whatever.
This is Workbench. I'm talking about the server. What did you install? Did you install WAMP, MAMP, MySQL? What did you install?
Community.
Community server?
This one.
No, this is the Workbench. Workbench is different from a server. Workbench is just an IDE.
Okay.
Workbench is just an IDE. You need to download this server, the Community Edition server or WAMP or XAMPP, either one of those three. Okay, this is just an IDE. It is not the server. It's just a Workbench. Okay. Okay, ready? Okay. So my script runs successfully. I saw a couple of you coming to me, and because it was coming up with an error, I'll tell you what that error is. Now the script is run. I showed you that my database exists. Your database must also exist. Please open it up, refresh it if you don't see it. See that your database is existing here. See that it has tables, a table called TBL students, and the student has all these columns or fields. Now, if I run this script again, you'll say, why are you running again? I will be running a script many a times. I may be running it 10 times. I'm going to run this script again. We'll have an error. You see the error? It says, cannot create the database. It already exists. Quite English-like. It's telling me, how are you if you ran it once, your database got created. Now you're telling me to create it again. I can do it. It's like saying, you know what I mean? You can't create a database by twice. It's there. It exists. It has a name. You can't. You're not saying, oh, clean the clear one and create a new one. If you could do that, then it makes sense. But the error is making complete sense. It says you've already created it. It already exists. Now you're telling me to create it again. I can do it. So now you'll say, what? But then what do? I mean, I have to run my script many a times because we're learning, right? We're learning. We are in the process of learning. So I'll write it. I'll run it. I may have some error. I'll add more statements. I'll run it again. So to be on the safe side. Now this safe side is not safe in the industry, right? What I'll do is I'll say before you create it, drop it if it already exists. Now this is safe for us, but very unsafe for the industry. You don't go and drop databases every day. You don't do that in the real world. Never ever you do that in the real world, because every day if you're dropping databases with tables in it with trillions of records, then it has to be recreated again. So just for our purpose in this educational environment, To rerun the script, I will kind of drop the database. And I'm kind of telling you this is not in the real world. I'm going to say drop the database if it exists. But keep in mind, there is a big beware with it. There's a big beware. You should be aware of it. You don't do it in the normal world, right?
So why are we doing it now?
Because I can't run the script again. I can only run this. So once the database gets created, and then I rerun the script, it says, oh, it already exists. How can I recreate it? That's only so that I can keep running my script over and over again. And I will be, because I'll write some code, I'll rerun it. You write it, you'll send it to me, I'll run it again. So for that purpose only.
So just dropping means deleting it?
Exactly. Dropping means completely deleting it. Okay. So I haven't yet completed it. So I'll say drop database. Now I could just say the name. Okay. So I'll say DB students. Right now, and that's a completely correct statement. But by chance, for example, I made a mistake. I did this. I didn't write the right name. Right. So now let's try running it. I mean, I didn't write the right name. I'll again come up with that error. It will say cannot drop this database because it doesn't exist. So there is nothing with the name of the student. So just to be again, I'll kind of playing it safe. If it exists, delete it. Now, even if you give a wrong name, then if it doesn't exist, it won't come up with an error. Just to show you that, oh, so here is the complete statement. You can use it in any form. You can simply say drop database and give the name. It will work. Drop database if exists. We'll say, oh, if it exists, I drop it. But if it doesn't exist, then that's fine too. So if exists is just saying if it exists, drop it. And if it doesn't exist, ignore my statement. Just ignore it. Don't worry about it. Right? So I may get a warning that it doesn't exist if it doesn't, but it won't be an error. Notice I come up with a warning. It says there is no database by that name DB student. So notice the yellow triangle that I see, it's a warning. So it's just telling me I didn't drop anything. There was nothing to drop. But if I don't put the if exists, it comes up with an error. I don't want to see errors in your code. If I can't run your script, how will I give you marks? If your script doesn't run, there are no marks. So you have to be sure that when the script comes to me, all I see is check, 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 check. Or warnings are okay. Right? So this, keep that in mind. So in the real world, statement number 9 is a big no-no unless you really want to physically. Of course, if you want to delete it, it's fine. You will use that statement. But I am only putting it for the purpose so that I can keep running my script over and over. So therefore, I've given a big beware there, right? Be aware that I'm doing it only for educational purposes. But that doesn't mean you won't ever need to delete databases. It may happen. It may happen. You're a programmer. You're keeping something on the server. The company is now closed, liquidated. You don't want to keep its data. You just delete everything. So you can physically delete it. So that's physically deleting it. So for me, I just want to rerun my script over and over again because I will need to. I'm in a student environment. I will need to. So I need that statement. Otherwise, you will get an error. That's the error a couple of you were getting. Andrew was getting it. Christian was getting it. And I got it too when I ran. Okay. So now that extra statement has been added. So the extra statement command at line number 9 has been added for us, like our purpose only. Okay. Okay. So if I now run the script, I'm good. I'm perfectly fine. So this is what I want to see. Check, 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 all green. Now this kind of becomes very untidy in a few minutes. So you can always clear it. I think right click. No. Action. No. Where do I find it? There should be a way of clearing it because it becomes very, very quickly it will become untidy. Right click. I tried it. It wouldn't. Oh, maybe on the gray line. Yeah. Oh, on the gray one. Okay. I thought I had seen a clear somewhere. There it is clear. You can always clear it. So it messes up very quickly. Like we have a small screen. So this is what I want to see when you give me your script. All greens. I see a red. Wherever it stops, I stop marking. Because I'm not going to go back and check what went wrong in your script. You will give me a running script. So I'll mark till where it runs. And after that, I'm not figuring out. You have to figure it out. So don't give me a script that is not run. Okay. So if you have a problem, then you ask me. Like this is not on when it is due and finished, you asked me before. So I'll help you out. I'll definitely help you out. But it's time sensitive. Okay, so everything is fine now. Oh, here on the gray one, do a right click and there was a green. No, I can't. Oh. In the actual table? Yeah. Oh, okay, in the actual table. Okay, I never remember where it is, but I know there is a clear. Maybe I never paid attention where am I clicking and I was always lucky that it came up. So just do a clear here. But of course, you can't, I mean, it's up to you, but this is what I want to see when you give it to me. Okay, so everything looks fine. But it's kind of it is an empty table. There is nothing inside the table. So our next statement, our next job is to populate the table. So at this point of time, is everything clear? You should know how to create a database, create a table, but that how to create a table is very important. Names of the fields, types of the fields, their extra information like not null, default, and so on. You should all know about it. And that's not the end. It's the beginning. You will learn much more. I just gave you a not null. I just gave you a default. Just to show it to you. Now, the next important thing. Important. Let's populate the data. Let's populate the table with data. Only then will it make sense. So the command is I keep forgetting, and that's why after a few classes, I'll be back to my lowercase, just because I want to do. Okay, now insert. Normal English like into. Right? So you're learning new commands. Create database, drop database, use create table. So now this is the next one. It says insert into. And now insert into which table? The name of the table was table students. Oops. That's the name of the table. So insert into this table. I think if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but yeah, you can even put the word table. Either way will work. Okay, insert into table, but I think the word table is, no, it's not. Something is going on. Okay, I'll double check. It's not yet complete, so it's giving me a red squiggly anyway. Now, how do I insert into a table? Now, a very important thing to be remembered in a table is this. The columns are identified by their names, not by their position. Not 1, 2, 3, 4. You identify them by their name. I can say insert into, and I just want to insert the email, for example. Or I just want to insert the name and the email. I can do it. So there are various insert statements and their flavors. Let's start with the easiest one first. So I want to insert information about my students, and for every student, I want to insert every piece of information. Okay, so this is how you do it. Now, I'll put a line comment, okay? By default means because I'm not mentioning it, by default, values are inserted in the defined order. Let me explain what it means. I don't think the word table is allowed. Kind of odd and put it in between, but I mean, since we are just learning how to do it. Okay. By default, values are inserted in the defined order. Okay, so that means what? Data entry is always the worst part. Everybody hates it, but we have to do it, okay? Let's try a few. I'm going to, okay, so the word table is not allowed, guys, I think. Who knows? Let's complete it first. Okay, so what have I said? What is my statement? Insert into the word table, I still am not sure. I'll know once I finish it. I usually don't use it, so, but it's coming in blue. Anyway, and then the name of the table, of course, has to be given. You can't work without it. Then comes the reserved word values. And values means what? What values are inserted? And then every record comes in round brackets. And you have to remember, the sequence in which you enter your data here must exactly match the sequence here. So the first value that you give here, for example, so now I'm going to kind of start using the data you gave me, okay? And again, if anybody is not comfortable, please let me know and I'll not input their data. Just so that I have data, otherwise making up data is so tough. So we'll start with, now you have two options. You can use single quotes or double quotes, whatever you like. If I misspell something, too many N's, I think. Okay.
Also, I forgot to put my age on there. It's 25.
Okay. No problem at all. Here. So that piece of data will go into the student name by default. Why? The first field is student name. I haven't said where I'm putting it. So if you don't tell it, it says, oh, you didn't tell me where to put it. So the sequence you give me is where I'll put it. I'll just kind of take it. So you exactly have to give how many values? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. For every record, you have to provide 6 values in order of the right type. You cannot put a text into a number. The vice versa is true. A number can go into text. I mean, it doesn't matter, but you cannot put text into number. Okay, so that was the name. Then comes the email address, I think was the second field. And Nathan has given me some email. It's kind of not so small, but his first name, of course, like your student names, okay? Dot his last name, and then comes at mygeorgian.ca. That was also text. You have the option of using single quotes and double quotes in text data. Single are more out there, prominent. So I'll do it, okay? Third field. My third field, you'll say, oh God, who now remembers what were the, I mean, you're doing something. That's okay. The age. So now age is an integer. If I try to do something else, and I'll show you, for now I'll behave myself. It is a number. I'm going to put a number. If I do not put a number, I'll show you that it will give me a problem, okay? So let me put one record first so that I can show you my errors and then we'll go from there. Okay. Okay. The next was fee. So Nathan has paid a fee of, it's a number again. Numbers do not go in quotes. Data, text data goes in quotes. Please remember that rule. I'm calling it a rule because I really should not tell you, but MySQL is really a lazy language, like web languages. Oh, okay. Oh, you meant to put 25 without quotes. I'll let you do it. I'll keep away from it, right? I can put the 25 in single quotes and MySQL will not complain. I cannot put 25A because 25A is not a valid integer, but I can still put numbers in quotes and it won't complain at all. I don't want to do it because I'm a programmer. I don't want to put numbers in quotes, but you know, SQL just says, oh, that's okay. It's still an integer. 25 is still an integer and it will let you do it. I'll avoid it. I want you to avoid it. Will make your life much easier, believe me. Okay, now comes the fees. And it's a number. You can't put the $sign, right? You just have to put a number, a real number. So Nathan really paid. He was to that. He's given me an accurate figure to the point, and I'm using it. I can't put a $sign. I can't put a comma. It's a number. Numbers can only have digits and the decimal point and the negative sign if you've said it's not unsigned. Okay, I'll show you all that. Okay, so my next was job desired and favorite sites. Okay, so job desired definitely is a text. Text has to come in quotes. And he said he wants to be a software developer. And I just see 2 favorite sites. So I'll go this and then youtube.com. Now it's I think if I like, I can put commas, I can put a semicolon. It's me. I have to decide how I'll differentiate between the sites. And he said gmail.com. And put it back. Now my one record is complete. The table still has the squiggly, so you cannot use the word table. Okay. So this is the complete command. You cannot use the word table, guys. This is how you insert data into a table. Insert into table name, values. I haven't done anything with values yet. I just said values. I'll show you its variations, okay? And then I have entered one record. If you wanted to enter more than one record, notice what I did. I put a comma, put in the second record, and so on. I'll show you. We'll insert one record. There are no syntax errors here. There are no syntax errors. Let's run it. I will have one record. Run it, save it, and run it. It runs. I don't see any. You'll say, but I don't like. How will you prove to me that there is data inside the table? Like, do you see it? Of course, I don't see the data. I mean, I didn't tell it to show me the data. There's no magic. We all know that programming is not magic. It's under your hands, but it is not magic. Okay. Now, just so that you know, how do you display the data? This is just displaying the data, because you will need it. Select everything from the table. Again, there are variations. I'm using it in its simplest variation. The star stands for select all the fields. The star stands for select all the fields. By default, all rows are also selected. So this is select statement in its simplest form. We will learn more select statements. So now this only displays the data. It will display the data on the screen. Now try it again. I should see one record in my table. And there it is. Select star from table students. Select star stands for all columns. You could choose columns. I could say select name, student name. I could say select student name, comma, student email. I could make variations. But for now, in the first class, we are saying show me everything. Yes?
I'm just getting an error. I'm not sure why.
Okay. Can you read the error?
Yep.
Yep. What does it say? Okay, the word table is not enough. Remove the word table.
This
Word
is not
not enough.
Oh.
Yeah, remove it. Now we're done. This is one statement.
Oh.
Okay? Okay, this is one statement.
Okay.
Insert into table name values, the records is one statement. I'm writing it on different lines to make it easy to read. This is one statement. No semicolon here, please. No semicolon till you finish it off. And here, my table has been created. There is one record in my table. I'm good. Right? Now let's try to make mistakes. Let's try to make mistakes. And what are the mistakes? Now, the first thing I said was it will allow me to put the 25s, which is a number, and the number in quotes. It will allow me to do this. Let's try it. It will. I'll still caution you. Please keep away from it. I'll specifically say in my assignments, I don't want you to put numbers in quotes. It's not the right way to do it. But if I try to do this, do you think I'll get an error? 25 was an integer. 25A. Now I should get an error. Now I should. So the quotes are allowed. SQL doesn't bother. You can put text in quotes. You can put number in quotes, and it is fine. It's fine with it. But the number should still be a number. Try now. I have an error. I have an error. Do you see the error? The error is right here. How is 25A an integer? No, it's not. 25A is not an integer. So you can't put A in it. Okay, so therefore I say it's just easier to not put numbers in quotes at all. So you don't make mistakes like this. You don't make mistakes like this at all. So you can do this. So I will follow this convention. You can call it convention if you like, but I would like you to follow it too with me, please. In the long run, you will. You will thank me. One, why? Because they come in a different color, double, and you can see them. Yes.
This is a side, but when you ran the script, you actually had to
Select star from table. This one.
Yeah, when I run it, it doesn't actually show that table view that you ended up.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay, let me see. Unless your output window is not activated.
Yeah, that window.
Yeah, this window is not activated. So go to your view and go to your panels. No, those are not it. Home, no. Select main tab, previous tab. Okay, so it's not in view. Where else could it be? Under tools? Utilities, no. Scripting, no. Configuration. See if you have kind of somewhere your output window is, no, that's not it. Query, of course, will not do. Edit type mappings. It's a result grid. They're calling it a result grid. See, let's see if we can find it. Unless there's a small one and you have to pull it up. See if it is kind of there, but you have to pull it up. I don't see it in view. I was hoping it was in view. I don't see it in view. It just says panels. And these panels are these 3 panels it is talking about. Just to show you, that's the height sidebar, which comes back from here. It's talking about these 3 panels. Okay, so the only thing that can be, it's just there, but needs to be expanded or something.
There it is, called mobile. It's not made by.
Oh, because you have an error. That's fine.
I don't think.
Yeah, you have errors. Yeah.
Like, it
Oh,
literally,
yes.
like, if you watch like clips from it, it's like, it's almost like they copy pasted the map.
But if you have an error, of course you won't be able to see the table, right? If you have an error in your script, I won't see the table. So if you do something wrong here, for example, for whatever, I forget this, and I try to run it, my script will run, but there is an error. See here, I have an error. So you won't see the table. There. Otherwise, it should come up by default. Okay, so are we clear about a few things? Text data in quotes, numeric data without quotes, and numeric data can only contain numeric data. Right? Okay, we said that age cannot be negative. Remember, I said unsigned. Let's try it. I've said minus 25 for Nathan's age. Okay, let's try what happens. You see, it says out of range for student age. Is it making sense to you? Out of range means what? What was my range? 0 to 255.
Now, unsigned wasn't there, it would have been okay.
It would have been okay. Exactly. But again, it would have been okay only till a limit.
Right.
Okay? Till a limit. Okay, so 255 is allowed, but 256 is not allowed. 6 is a positive number, but it is out of range. I again have that error. So you have to be within the range. So the range is, you say, who can remember the range? You know what? In the long run, you will remember it. If you work with databases all the time, you will. So the tiny int unsigned range was 0 to 255. That's it. I cannot give anything less than 0. I cannot give anything more than 255. It will always come up with an error. Make sense? So unsigned is helping me. It's a good thing. I'm enforcing my rules. Okay, so Nathan is 225. He's back. So we know one way to insert data into the table. Let me tell you another way. I'm going to take the statement again. I'm going to say insert variation, just to show you variations, okay? My job is now to show you how you insert. I'm going to remove this by default because I'm going to change it. And notice something I'm going to do. I'm going to give a list here of all these names. Nobody likes it, but you know what? Some programmers say, I can't keep going up and seeing the sequence there. So I'm going to put whatever I like here. Now here, you just have to, you can put them in any order you like. Order, because then it's easy for me. I'll show you all variations. Okay. Student age. So look at my difference, what I'm doing. I'm filling in a list after values. And instead of going back to the table all over and all over again, I'm just kind of copying the fields here. I know it is more work. It is, but I'll tell you the advantage of it. And many programmers like to do it this way. Okay. This is a variation. Variation means what have I varied? What have I changed? I've put a list here. I've put a list here. Now, think about the flexibility I have. I can put this list in any order. I don't have to put it in the same order that's in my table. I can put it in any order, and then the only thing I have to remember is my data must match my list. That's one flexibility. Two, it's always there, so I don't have to keep going back and seeing in the table what's the sequence. So some programmers just like it. They write it once, and then all you have to do is copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, anytime you want to do an instance. So look at the flexibility. I can do it in any order I like. And if I don't want to insert something, I don't have to. And let me show you that too. But let's complete this. So I'm going to change Nathan's name. It's going to be a big job, but Let's go with Jiva, right? Jiva, are we okay to put your code or your details here? Okay. So let's replace it with Jiva. Jiva didn't give me his age, and because I think he didn't see that there was a new one. Babu, is that what it is? Okay. Birthplace. I never gave birthplace. Okay, that's okay. So he has a Gmail address, which I'll kind of let go because it's his private address or whatever. I'll just go jiva dot whatever, Babu maybe. I mean, I don't even know whether it's right or not. I leave the age at 25 just. And what about your fees? Would you like to disclose how much you paid? No? Okay, so let's go 5000 and 50 cents. I can just leave it like this. Nobody says I have to give a float. 5,000 is a valid real number. 5,000 is a valid real number. There's nothing wrong in it. It will automatically put a 0.00 on its own. You don't have to worry because you said 6,2. It will automatically. He wants to be a web developer. And he likes Facebook and YouTube. So notice what he gave to me. So Nathan gave it this way and Jiva gave it this way. He just said YouTube and Facebook. So see, I'll get all kind of data from people. I mean, they'll just be rough in their data. They won't, I just said favorite site. He just said them as we would say. Facebook, I like Facebook, I like YouTube. He never gave me the whole URL. So then it's always up to the programmer to be very precise how you collect your data. Okay, so that's Jiva's record. And why do I see a red squiggly? Oh, my bad. And it's a very common practice. Live with it. I'll do it many times. Sorry for that, guys. The list has to be put here. The list has to be put with the table name, not with the values. My bad. And I do it all the time. Just because I just remember the sequence and I don't use it. Okay, so this should work. So now, how many records should you see? 2 records. Right, let's try it. Run it again. There it is. Notice the 5,000 has changed to 5,000.00 because I said it was decimal data. So it's automatically put 2 places after decimal. Yes, Matt?
Why does it have the 2 records if you just changed it?
No, I added a new record. Nathan's record was already there. Yeah. Nathan's record was already there. I kind of copied it and I said insert variation. Right? I said insert variation. Let's look at more variations of insert.
Oh, you did that separately. Oh.
Yeah, I did it separately just to show you variations. Another insert variation is coming your way. Let's do this now. I'm going to insert into the table student only 2 things. Look at the third one. I only want to insert 2 records, 2 fields. Doesn't matter which 2 fields. It could be any 2 fields. And I'm showing you the flexibility or the advantage of giving that list in the table name. In the first one, I didn't give any list. I had to give exactly 6 fields. Now I'm going to insert some values here. And Kayla, are we okay putting your data? Okay. So my bad, the caps lock is on. Kayla's right. Last name is very tough. So Gottschalk, is that how I say it? Oh, not that. Okay, so that's Kayla's name and her email address. She gave me a student number, which again, I won't kind of disclose. So I'll go with this one at mygeorgian.ca. And of course, I'll replace it with her name. And since it is a text, please see that you put it in quotes. That's another variation. I just want to give 2 fields. The rest of the fields, what do you think will happen to it? Let's look at what happens to it. Do you remember the default? The default will come. And what about the other fields? Well, nothing. That's okay. Right, let's try it. Let's see, pay attention. So I've written this statement now, lines number 35, 36, and 37. Please look at what I've done. My list, I'm saying I'm only going to insert 2 fields. I don't even bother with the order. I know their student name and email in the table, but they could be anything. Now you can give the list in any order you like, as long as you match 1 to 1. Don't forget, matching has to be 1 to 1. If you kind of swap these or swap these, then this will go into name and this will go into student email. They're both text. Okay, run it. Run it again. Save it and run it. Please notice what happens to Kayla's record. Do you see this null? Null means there is no data. Do you see something under software developer? It says programmer. I never said she was a programmer. You remember the definition? It said default was the programmer. And what is null? Null is a special value in any language which means not defined. Please understand, it's not empty. It's not defined. Empty is different from not defined. The glass is empty, makes sense, but there is no glass, is not defined. Okay, so that's the difference. So when you see the reserved one null here, that's a reserved one null. It says it's not defined even. You can't even check it. You can't say if age is, did you give an age? Like, it's not even defined, but you can check, is age null? It's not defined. So keep in mind, empty is different from not null. Null means not defined. If you wanted to give it a 0 default, you could have. If you wanted to give it an empty string as default, you could have said empty string, quotes open, quotes close, quotes. But that's it is. Let's take another variation. So make sense? Data is being added. Okay, let's take another variation. I'm going to again copy this data. And just for the heck of it, just to show it to you, I'm going to change the sequence. Another insert variation. So what was this insert variation? This first insert variation was only 2 fields added. In here, the variation was fields are named. Right? In this one, in the last one, what am I going to say? I'm going to insert some fields. We can say anything we like. Insert, let's say 3 fields in any order. Just to show you. Okay, so I'm going to give, just for the heck of it, I'm going to give the student age first. Then I'm going to give the student email maybe. And then I'm going to give the student name. I just changed my mind. It's my will. I just want to do it this way. Okay, so now be careful. You can't just run the script. It will give you an error because this is not a number. Okay, so let's go with somebody else who is not shy to give their ages on the Udemy. Is it YU? I can't even read the writing. YURUI? Okay, are you okay giving your age here, Yuri? Okay, because he's still young, right? Okay, okay, so he's 22 years old, he said. And I know you were giving me another name, but I'll stick with this. Yuri. And Chen is what he said his name was. And again, he's given a Yahoo address. I'll kind of again keep away from it. And I'll stick to this. Oh, the email comes second. Now I'll just do it just to show you what happens. See, so I gave the age as 22. The student email I said was his name, my mistake, but it's a text. And then I said the name of the student, Yuri, was his email. I messed it up. So the messing was done in the order, but they were both text data, so it won't complain about wrong data. So it will work. Let's see how it works. What will happen? Notice what will happen. The poor guy's name has become his email and his email has become his name. I made a mistake. Now, this mistake would have been caught if there was non-numeric data numbers. Then the system would have caught it. But the system doesn't know that Yuri Chen is not a student email. It's just text data. You can put hello world inside it and it won't say anything. You know what I mean? So what should I do? I should change either this order of the list or I should change this order. One has to be changed. You make the choice. Doesn't really matter. One has to be changed. There it is. Now I'm good. So there was no syntax problem here because both were text data. But there was a logical error here. You see what logical error means? The logic was wrong. The name went into the email and the email went into the name. And it didn't complain because they were both text data. It just said, that's what you told me, that's what I'm going to do. So you've learned variation. So don't give a list at all, then you have to exactly give the records, you have to give the fields in the right order and all the fields have to be. Give the list and be flexible. Give it in any order you like, give as many fields as you like. Now, there was one important field and Nathan asked me that question. I said the name has always to be given. I said that. Remember, I said name has always to be given. Let's try it. I said you cannot work without the name. So I'll kind of keep the student name and email. And just because it makes more sense, not more sense, it's just how our brain works. I said you don't need to, you have to give the name is what I said when I started. That not null. Let's try this. I'll put a comment after I've run the script. Name should be provided. That's what I said, right? Student name field must be provided. Since it is not null. That's what you said in its definition, remember? Let's see if it works. Okay, now let's put these values. And just for the heck of it, because it's me, no, that's okay. I'm not a student. Kyle, are we okay? Okay, so let's put Kyle's email. Again, it's a Hotmail, so I'll just use the same concept again. Oh, just to show you that, oh, you can add more than one record. Still now I haven't even added more than one record. So let's add another record here. Insert 3 fields in any order, and you can say more than 1 records. I mean, you can add as many records as you want, or you can do 1 for each. Really doesn't matter. So since let's use Kayla as used. Komal. Komal, are you okay? Okay, so let's put Komal. Komal is also 22. Komal's email is again a Gmail, so we'll leave that alone. I can leave it empty if I like. I mean, I can. Nothing stops me. And the name is Komal. I hate it sometimes. Okay. Komal Bhandari. Now, nobody, I mean, that's a valid text, guys. There's nothing wrong in this text. An empty string is a valid email, like it's empty. So now you won't see a null, you will see an empty. So you'll see a difference. Okay, let me just show it. I mean, I don't want to confuse you, but the whole thing is I'm just showing you so many variations. Okay, let's try to put a third record there. Okay, so Komal is Gmail, address is Komal Bhandari at whatever, mygeorgian.ca. Okay. Yeah, somewhere commas and so on.
Oh, I see.
Right? Separate by commas and by semicolon. Okay, so now what have I done? I've added 2 records. This should also work. Komal's record should be added. Till now, everything should be added. So I'm going to take this out for a minute and run the script again. No squigglies, data should work. Data is working perfectly fine. I'm adding records, no worries at all. Right? I've said I'll add it, I'm adding it. Now, by chance, if for whatever reason you forgot the age in Komal's, you promised I will give 3 fields. Notice you said I'll give 3 fields. And how many have you given? Only 2. You should get an error. Right? You should get an error. It's not a syntax error. So there are no red squigglies. But notice it says you have an error. Sometimes the error is not helpful at all. You'll say, what is it saying? It says you have an error. What is the error? MySQL is not very helpful always, but the error is that you haven't given the right number of fields. It will kind of give you an idea, but it is not always helpful. It says at line 1, God knows which is line 1. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what is line 1? So you have an error. Why? Because you didn't match it. Oh, now it is, but I was running a different one. Make sense? Column count doesn't match what you said. So how many did you say I will enter? How many fields did you say you will enter? 3. How many have you entered? 2. So that's an error. And it won't run. The script won't run. It will say column count. Makes sense in English. Normal. Column count doesn't match the value count at row 2. Now these row numbers are sometimes very difficult, but row 2 means the second row. This was your first row, first record. This was your second record. It says your column count doesn't match it. Something is wrong. And that's something I hope you understand what is wrong. There are 3 fields you said I will add, and you're only adding 2 fields. So definitely it was wrong. So you have to be careful. When you have flexibility, please use it properly. Okay. And now to show you that not null, I'm trying to do this. I'm not adding the name at all. I'm just adding the student email. Let's see. Logically, because I've said it is not null, it should give me an error. But I'm going to show you something, bring your attention to it, and then maybe, who knows? I won't say anything till I run it first then. They could have made it the default also. Okay, so let's try it. So this is the only statement that I haven't tried. Till now, till line number 42, everything was running. Everything was okay. So let's run it again. Now look at the error. It says the student name does not have a default value. Kind of an odd error. What is it trying to tell you? In other words, it's trying to tell you that you have to give me the student name. Though it doesn't say it straight away, it doesn't say student name is required. You should have been a better error description. It says student name doesn't have a default value. What it is trying to say is, you said it will be provided. You didn't provide it. And you didn't even say it had a default. So what do I do now? So they've already incorporated it. So I was thinking, have they or have they not? I think they're fine. But I'll still tell you a statement that you should always put in your environment. So it tells me, in not so many words, it tells me you're missing the student. I have to give the student name because it is a not null field with no default value. I didn't give it a default and I said not null. So it is forcing me to give a null. Make sense? So you cannot put a negative value where you've said it is unsigned. You cannot leave a field blank. You have to provide a field. You can't leave it null if you've said it is not. You have to provide it. So the error messages in SQL are not always very helpful, but will still make a little sense. So you can do this. Student name field must be provided since it is not null and does not have a default value. And keep in mind, I did not give it a default value. If I had given it a default value, the combination would have been okay. You know what I mean? Like you didn't give it, but you said that's what is default. I'll put that default. So if you say not null and default, it's actually contradicting each other. You are saying not null means cannot be left null, but you're giving it a default. So I'll let it go. So I mean, that combination is not useful, but that's what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in comments because I can't do it. But I'll leave it there to bring your attention to it. It won't run. We just saw we had an error. It won't run, but I leave it there. I put this code on Blackboard so that you can see it afterwards, so that you know that student name has to be provided. Okay, so you saw the default option, programmers. You saw the null. If something is not null, I have to provide it. If I don't provide a value in a field, it automatically becomes null. So if you don't say not null, what is its default value? Null is its default value. So those are variations. You can put any variations you like any variations. I gave you all fields. I gave you all fields with names. I gave you only a couple of fields. I gave you fields in a different order. Then I added more than one record, which you can. Don't think you can only add one record at a time. I can add more than one records at a time in the same insert statement. I wrote insert once, but I gave my records separated by comma. Some programmers go with this format where they write one insert statements and give their records. Some programmers like to do insert one record at a time. Insert as many times as the number of records. Choose whatever you like. It's just a preference. It's just a personal preference. I try to write it just to save myself typing. I go this way, but the other way is also copy and paste. So either way, whatever you like. So you will see it all over the place. Some programmers prefer to write one insert statement and add all the records. Please remember, records are being separated by commas. Some programmers will write one insert statement for one record, another insert statement for second record, another. They just say it gives them flexibility. Similarly, some programmers will not write the whole list if they want to put all the values in the same order. But some programmers say, I can't keep remembering what was in what order. I'll write it once. All I have to do is copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Right? Though it's not a good habit of copy pasting, but that's what it is. Is everything clear? So shall we now go back again? Varchar, variable character, not null, has to be provided. Tiny int has a small value, can go from 0 to 255 because it is unsigned. Decimal 6,2, 6 places in all, 2 places after decimal, has to be a positive value. Varchar 80, you can give anything till 80. If you don't give it to me, I'll make it programmer. Varchar 100, anything of size 100. Now for your information, by default, even if I don't write it, this is its normal definition, null. It is null. Okay? Yes.
Does the same thing work with numbers when you're assigning it to be a decimal? If you don't put unsigned or signed?
Yes, same. The range will be different.
But is it default as signed if you don't put it?
Yes, the default is signed.
Okay.
Yes, yes. If you don't say anything, it is signed. Yes, yes. Good. Because we haven't done anything at all. You don't have to say unsigned. If you don't say unsigned, it is by default signed, though you can put the word signed. Right? So since it has been asked, so I'll just say, just so that default is null. Make sense? So you don't have to say the word null. Default means you don't have to say it. And similarly here, default is signed. And you don't have to even say the word signed, though you could say sign. I'm not even sure actually, now that you've asked me. Yeah, it's allowed. You can put the word signed also. But I mean, we don't do it. That's why I wasn't sure. But yeah, the default is, that's for sure that the default is signed. I wasn't sure whether the signed word itself is allowed, but it is allowed. Okay, make sense? You see something called unique. We'll come to that too also. Unique, as the name suggests, is only one record it has to be a unique value. So if I say unique with a field, student name, I can't enter the same student name again. That's what unique means. Just for information. Because unique is coming up, I just wanted to draw your attention. That's another property. I haven't finished with properties, guys. I've done not null, I've done unsigned. What else have I done? I've done default, but there is a unique property. Okay, so as time comes, as I need it. Too much maybe to do on the first day, but not a big deal. It's not that tough, is it? Are we happy with it? Let's try it. Let's try. Now at this point of time, my script should run perfectly fine and it should make sense. And please remember, an empty string is a valid value for text data. There's nothing wrong in it. It is a valid value. Let's try it. I was doing it with the record, but I kind of kept myself away from it just so that, okay, let's add somebody else's record. Joel Robinson. Okay. Am I saying it right, Joel? Do I emphasize the E? Okay. But it can't be Joel. Can it be?
Yeah.
Oh, it can be? Yeah. So I don't have to emphasize it. Oh, then it's easy. Okay, Joel, much easier. Okay, so Joel says his, I don't know, he hasn't given his age. 20, okay. He's fine with his giving his age. His name is Joel Robinson. Oh, so you don't, I mean, is it natural that the E is there, but you don't have to emphasize it, or is it different in different names? Okay, all over. Okay, so there's no rule. Okay, and so for the heck of it, I'm going to keep his email empty. And this is valid. There's nothing wrong in it. That's an empty string, a valid value for text data. It's a valid value for text data. Don't leave it out. You can't leave it out. Why? Because you've said I'm going to give you 3 fields. You can't leave it out, but you can put it empty. And you'll see the differences. Instead of null, it will say blank string, or there it will be empty. There's a difference between the two. There's a difference of saying something is empty and something is null. Okay, let's try to run it again, just to show you again. So please see, as soon as you add a new record, put a comma before the previous record. After Komal's record, please put a comma here. And then in the last, put a semicolon, right? So I'm going to add a new record, and Joel's email should be empty, not null, empty. Let's run it. And let's look at, there he is. So notice the difference, though it's not somewhere else in email, but do you notice the difference that an empty string is different from the keyword null? Null means not defined, okay? So understand that difference. 0 is not the same as null. 0 means 0, but null means not defined. So don't confuse between empty strings and null, and don't confuse between 0 and null. 0 doesn't mean null. An empty string doesn't mean null. Null means not defined. Any questions for me before I give you your first assignment?
We have to do it.
You can't finish it now, so that means you can do it over the weekend. Definitely. Right? Okay, so let's put it up. Any questions for me? Okay, so anybody who is present in class,